Welcome to 3 o'clock with SOC. Give me a second while I welcome our Spanish-speaking neighbors. Buenas tardes, gracias por estar con nosotros hoy día en 3 p.m. con SOC. Si quieren acceso al programa en español, por favor marquen el número que aparece en la pantalla, que es 646-749-3122. Cuando le contestan su llamada, por favor comparten la contraseña que también aparece en pantalla, 779-328-221. Thank you for being with us this Wednesday, August 5th, 2020. So glad you're here. This week, we've been tackling the issue of law enforcement reform so that folks can understand, like, what is everyone talking about and what does it mean? What does it mean to defund the police? What does it mean to divert funds from the police? What does it mean to have the Fire and Police Commission change policies or supervise the chief or change training, etc. Tomorrow you'll want to be with us because we have Jamal Smith. Jamal works for the Office of Violence Prevention. He's also a member of the Community Collaborative Commission, and he was with the former CCC, the first class or cohort of it. And he's going to be talking with us about what the Office of Violence Prevention does, what are their thoughts on law enforcement reform, and then sharing the Blueprint for Peace, which we participated with when it was created. And then on Friday, we have Fred Royal. He is the president of the NAACP. He's also a member of the coalition, the Community Coalition for Quality Policing. And he is also a member of the CCC. And he's going to be talking to us a little bit about the NAACP and the CCQP. But he's going to be sharing with us some information about one of the proposed plans or pieces of the plan for law enforcement reform that is out there, actually two pieces. The first is President Obama's effort, which resulted in 21st century policing plan. And then another effort, the new era of public safety, So Fred's going to be orienting us on those efforts. So you want to stay with us so we can all navigate all of what's happening with law enforcement reform, how that ties into long stem racial and social justice in our nation. But don't you want the practicals of like really understanding it so that you can decide where you land? If you remember, on Monday, I did a CCC report, the full report out to the community that we shared earlier. Yesterday, I listed all the groups I could think of and where their role is in law enforcement, so you know how many players are in the game. And so that you can decide for yourself, where are you going to land on where you think law enforcement should go in terms of their work and especially their relationship with the community. My name is Tammy DeVetta. I'm the Executive Director and Lead Organizer for SOC, Southside Organizing Center, or SOC. It's our 30th anniversary this year, folks, in case I haven't said that enough. We are trying to figure out how we're going to make our annual Grassroots Organizing Conference and our annual Legacy Awards banquet, our retro ball happen, and we'll keep you abreast when we figure that out. If you want a copy of this forum in English or in Spanish, we have it on our Facebook page, and you can get it at YouTube. So if you want to refer back to it because there was a guest or some information, or you couldn't see it live, or you wanted to share it with someone else. All of our staff is here for you, folks. We are doing everything we can to continue our relationship with you, our programs and services and support. You can call us at 414-672-8090. You can email us at soc@socmilwaukee.org, and you can visit our website. And again, I want to let you know we're doing our best to keep a dedicated page to coronavirus updated for you because there's so much information. It comes so fast. There are so many changes. So we designed that to try to help you manage all that information and us, and to categorize it so that you could access it faster. And when folks share things here, on the forum, our guests, and even some of you, who I'll say hi to in a second, our viewers, our participants. We put that up there so that you can have access to that. So please take advantage of that. And we're reaching out, in other ways, not physically yet, because although the city moved to phase 4, where they're allowing more in-person contact, you all know, probably have heard that 53215 and 04 zip codes were high, and 53215 is sort of in a crisis, contagious phase. And that's where our office is. That's where many of us live, including myself. And this is where many of our residents live. So we're going to take extra precautions to keep you all safe and our staff safe. And speaking of that, the reason you don't see me with a mask is because all of our staff is working virtually. We're not doing any in-person work or community work. And so I'm all alone in my fireplace room. And so that's why I don't have a mask on. And all of our staff who you see come on here, everybody's working virtually from home. Please know that we want to create a safe space here at the forum, meaning want to be able to tackle these deep problems we have, and problems that we all don't see the same in the same way. And because we're a certain type of nonprofit, we can't always, be the person's talking about a particular thing. We're restricted in some areas we can swim in, but we create the space for other people too. And so I just want to share a disclaimer that the views and opinions that are shared in the forum, including today, may or may not necessarily reflect those of SOC, in order to be able to ensure that voice. All right, before we get started, we want to see who's with us this Wednesday. Hola, Diana. Diana, you're so faithful. We're going to have to do some special something for our super participants. Those of you who are always with us, if you have some ideas, very low cost, because we don't have a lot of money. Let's see how we can celebrate our faithful viewers. Diana, Marianne, Maria, Trine, seen her very recently. Elsa, qué bueno verte. Ok, María nos está preguntando que cuándo en español. Mira lo que pasó, María. Esta semana, this week, María saying when in Spanish. This week, María, we had to move Spanish to Tuesday yesterday because our guest today is in English. And also, thank you for bringing that up. I have a note for later in the program. Next week, all day Spanish day is Tuesday, because Senator Baldwin is going to be on Wednesday in English. So we moved our all Spanish for this week and next week to Tuesdays, okay? So stick with us for that. And always know that you can access our interpretation line and then access the forums after they've happened, just in Spanish as well. But thank you for reminding me. All right, who else is here with us this Wednesday, middle of the week hump day? Do we have anybody with us who's not chimed in and said hello? Do we have any new names who want to just say a quick hello on this Wednesday? All right, folks, while you're thinking about that, I'd like to introduce our guest. She's back with us. We have a great collaboration with the ACLU of Wisconsin, and we're glad that Molly and other staff has been here as well, but that Molly's going to be back today. And Molly Collins is the Advocacy Director for the ACLU. So let's welcome Molly back with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Hi, Molly. I'm going to say hi to Esperanza, who's chiming in. Hola, Esperanza. Reina. I think this is the first time we've been able to say hello to you. Hola. Good to see you. All right. Molly, we have so much to talk about. There's no way we're going to cover it. And I'm so bad. I've been violating all the time schedule, probably 90% of the time. We have so much to talk about, but I want to be diligent because we want to use the forum to help people understand people's roles in the community, elected or other, and organizations. Can you just talk a little tiny bit about your role at the ACLU and what overall the ACLU does before we dig into the topic of today?
Absolutely. We are, the ACLU stands for American Civil Liberties Union, and we work to just create stronger, more fair communities that are grounded in the Constitution. We work in every community in the state of Wisconsin. We have about 14,000 members around the state, and we work on a lot of different issues, including voting rights, immigration, free speech, mass incarceration, criminal justice reform, and policing is a big part of that. And we're just committed to ensuring that police protect and serve all the citizens of Wisconsin in an unbiased manner, and a professional manner, and that there's a fair and effective process for oversight of law enforcement.
Great. I know you also play a pivotal role during elections, the observer role, recruiting observers. Will you talk about that a little bit, since we're in a big election year and a census actually year too? You talk a little bit about what you all do yourselves and what you recruit people to do for those two things?
Absolutely. The ACLU works with Wisconsin Election Protection, which is a group of many different organizations that are committed to making sure that every person who is able to vote, that their vote is counted. And we really want to make sure that everyone can vote safely in this moment, in this pandemic. So we're suggesting a lot of folks vote by mail, but we also want to make sure that there are safe in-person voting options if folks want to vote early, or even on election day, that you are still able to register and vote on election day at a polling place. And hopefully it'll go a little more smoothly than last time. And so we work with League of Women Voters, NAACP, Milwaukee Area Labor Council, SOC. I think you all are part of that too. There's a lot of different groups who hear from people if they're having a problem at their polling place, and then they're able to get in contact with a lawyer by calling 866-R-VOTE, or going to Wisconsin Election Protection on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram. And you can get your questions answered. So if you go to a polling place and they ask you questions, or you're feeling uncomfortable, or you're not able to provide them what you need, we can help sort of tech support. Maybe you have a different document that you are able to vote with as an ID, for example, if you didn't have a state ID. So we have like a lot of little materials that tell people if they what their rights are in that moment, and what their rights are if they've had a criminal conviction in their past. Because also a lot of people don't know that they're in Wisconsin, you never lose your right to vote if you have a misdemeanor conviction, unless it's for treason or bribery. And
Okay.
as soon as you are done serving time on paper for your felony conviction, your rights are restored and you're able to vote again. So as soon as you're off probation, parole, or extended supervision, you are able to vote.
That's super important for people to understand. I know that's very confusing, and there's a lot of myths around that. And also, I'm glad that you shared the common things people ask about, like election obstruction. Like, what can they do if they're not being allowed to vote? And calling someplace and having that resource is super important. So we're going to share that number again and ask for Drea to put that on our comments. It was 866
OUR VOTE.
Okay.
VOTE.
Okay. And they can call or go to the website with Wisconsin Election Protection.
Correct.
That's super, super important to know, folks. Thank you for that. I'm telling you, there's so much we could talk about, Molly, but that was important to get out because of the census and because of the election coming up. All right. Tell us, what is the ACLU's sort of approach to law enforcement reform? And I know that that's important to also the ACLU law settlement.
Yeah, I mean, the ACLU is a national organization, so there are over 12,000 police departments in all of our 50 states around in the country, and 3,000 sheriff's offices, and a lot of different law enforcement training academies and stuff. So policing and law enforcement is a really big issue. And it's an issue that looks a little different in every state, but we do think like there are some very clear things that you can do to make law enforcement more fair, more unbiased, and really ensure that every person who is in a community with police, that they are being policed in an equal and a fair manner. And that's not dependent on what color their skin is or what language that they speak. So I think like we think about this in a couple of different ways. The ACLU is part of Liberate Milwaukee campaign, which talks about divesting from police budgets, because we agree with the Milwaukee community that has been having this conversation for a number of years. And we think that, police are expected to solve a lot of our society's problems, but they aren't equipped to solve them. And maybe we don't need people with guns solving mental health problems or solving homeless issues. Like there are other parts of our community that could be more equipped and receive more funding and be able to do more to help in those types of situations. And so like as a partner of the African American Roundtable and the Liberate Milwaukee campaign, we think that taking some funding from the police and giving them to other parts of our community, that's a sound plan to move forward.
And when people talk about defunding, now this is the shock factor for folks you can hear right in the community. Can you give us a sense of your understanding of what that means, right? People are thinking, what does it mean to defund the police? And I assume there's a spectrum of people who want to abolish the function of what we currently know as a police, all the way to like defend how the police do things now and support it. And so could you help shed a little light about your understanding about what defunding really means or the spectrum of that?
Sure. And I just want to like acknowledge that my learning has come from a lot of different very brilliant thinkers. A lot of African American women have sort of built the foundation of our understanding of this issue. So Miriam Kaba, Ruth Wilson Gilmore, those women have developed a body of knowledge about this. So what I'm going to say is like built on that.
Honoring their work.
Yes.
Honoring their work. Thank you for naming them and honoring their work.
Absolutely. So I what I think has happened in Milwaukee is that the Liberate Milwaukee campaign had a conversation with thousands of Milwaukee residents and talked about, what does your vision of how we spend our money in Milwaukee, what makes sense to you? How should we be investing our money? When you are spending money on things, you're voting for what's important. And I think a lot of folks felt like that we spend way too much on policing. More than half of our city budget goes to the police department. That's a lot of money, and so we're voting that is the most important thing. But really, those outcomes are not necessarily tied to public safety. So we're spending this money. Are we, making people better? Well, we are making Wisconsin's mass incarceration problem more significant, right? We have one of the worst disparities of, African American male incarceration in the country.
In the nation, yeah.
Yes. And so, and also, in other parts of the state, we're the worst for incarcerating our First Nation people and Native American folks. So, I think that like, we know that the type of policing, the over-policing that happened in Milwaukee, where they were doing hundreds of thousands of stops every year, that was really targeted towards Black and brown folks. And so not only were those communities money was being taken from them, people were being taken from them and incarcerated, and they're being over-policed. And so the ACLU represented a number of Black and brown people in 2017 in a lawsuit against the police department for unconstitutional stops and racial profiling. And so, lawsuits take a little time to sort of move forward. But, this group of people, which included like young people who were stopped as young as 11, to military veterans and grandfathers, a state legislature, all of these people who, members of our community, they were being stopped unlawfully by the police, and the police weren't even really tracking what was happening. They were tracking the number of stops, but they weren't tracking the outcomes in the same way. A lot of the stops, we learned through the lawsuit where there was no basis written on the forms that says like, why did you stop somebody? It had no reason. There was a lot of people who felt like they were being stopped because they were Black and standing on a bus stop, right? Or brown and standing on, walking down the street. And so it was a big pattern of racial profiling, ethnic profiling, and it was plaguing Milwaukee for years. And it took a while, but we came to a settlement with the Milwaukee police. And, the agreement required that they undergo some reforms, that they start tracking all of this data so that it can be reported, and then police officers can be held accountable if they are in violation of it. I think that, it's a roadmap and it was a strong settlement, but the police still aren't fully in compliance. And one of the things that grew out of the lawsuit was the formalization of the Community Collaborative Commission, which I know you are one of the leaders of. So I think like that group, and as well as like the Fire and Police Commission, have the ability to hold the police more accountable if the police start collecting some of the data that they promised to collect as a result of the lawsuit.
That's super important because I think everybody has like a base understanding of the ACLU, like, oh, something happened and the police got sued again and it had to do with stop and frisk, but this helps folks understand a little better. The other thing I want to announce to folks, please, if you have a question about the ACLU or the law settlement, please put it in the comments now that we have Molly here. I want to let folks know that on Friday, September 25th, pencil it in your calendar. Karen Rotker of the ACLU, an attorney with the ACLU, she'll be sharing, and also we have Stephen Jansen, one of the plaintiffs, are going to be with us because the next report on how the ACLU settlement is doing, how the police is complying, or the police and FPC, no?
Yes.
Yeah, how they're complying with it. That report is due out on the 23rd, so we gave a day or two just in case. And then Karen and Stephen are going to be with us on Friday to give us an update on what's happening or not with that. So folks, put that in your calendar. Give us a couple, just list again for us a couple of things that the settlement noted that had to be done. So one is, we know that the data and tracking of stops. So if the officer stops you, they have to document that they stopped you. Do they also have to identify themselves, Molly, or identify the reason they stopped you?
Yes.
Remind me, yeah.
Yeah, all of those things, and then they also, have to start tracking it in their own measures, so that the stops are supposed to be being reviewed by their supervisor.
Okay, that's right.
So it's sort of also like increases the level of supervision within the department and accountability. And then, if they are incorrectly stopping people in violation of folks' constitutional rights, then they are supposed to go through some retraining and make sure that those officers sort of get back on the right track. And then they're also supposed to be meeting regularly with the Community Collaborative Commission and, allowing for the public to have more input onto police policies and the way that they impact people as we move about Milwaukee.
And the law settlement, if I remember correctly, is supposed to be for a 5-year period of time for them to get in compliance. If they're not in compliance or they haven't been sufficiently in compliance for the 5 years, what's the technical thing happens? Do you go back to settlement negotiations or to court, or what happens?
So I'm not one of the lawyers, so I can
Yes,
only tell
okay.
you a little bit about what my understanding is. So I think they had 2 years to sort of come into compliance with the settlement. That
Mm-hmm.
2 years that ends on September 25th or whenever Karen's going to be on the show.
Yeah.
And so at that point, we will know if they are in compliance. When the monitor did their 1-year report, it was found that they were not in compliance with a number of the really important things in the settlement. And so I'm really hoping that they are coming into compliance and that they're creating accountability measures and, and putting them in place, because, the ACLU would then have to take them back to court and tell the judge that they're in violation of the agreement. But, I think like really it makes policing easier for all police if the community trusts the police, right? So, if they're not unconstitutionally racial profiling folks, the police who are doing the right thing, they're out there trying to make the community better and safer, those folks will have a better experience as police officers if there are accountability measures to make sure that the community's trust is not being violated.
Yeah, that's a good point. That it's not just punitive, but the whole point here is to increase safety for the community. And that includes safety against police officers, right? Like they're human, the system, the structure is impacted by all the ills that the nation deals with. Folks, do you have any questions for Molly? Our time is almost up here. You curious about the settlement or anything we've spoken today? It's a deep topic. And
it really is. And you got some, sorry.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say you got some great guests coming up. So, I'll have to tune in to hear from Jamal and Fred Royal too, because they're both really amazing thinkers on this topic too.
Great. Is there anything else you want to share with us today, Molly, before you go, about projects you guys are working on or work you're doing, or how the community can get involved with the ACLU?
Yeah, I mean, right now we're thinking a lot about the election. We're thinking a lot about so mail your ballots in. If you go in person to a polling place, don't forget your mask. I got mine right here for when I leave my office. But we're also thinking about what the DNC is going to look like and the demonstrations that might happen around that on August 17th. Sounds like there's some breaking news that the candidates won't actually even be in person in Milwaukee now. And so I don't know what that means for the protest. Yeah. But if there's still demonstrations, we'll be out there with teams of legal observers, making sure that the police and demonstrators' rights are, that the demonstrators' rights are being respected by the police.
Yeah, that's a great function that you all provide too. Molly, thank you for being with us again, and we look forward to having you back.
Thank you so much for having me. Take care.
Adios. Bye. All right, folks, we said hello. Do we have anybody new with us after I said hello to Reina? Reina said, call election protection. Thank you, Andrea, for always keeping our comments full of information for folks. We appreciate you doing that. All right, folks, you can chime in at any time. What I want to share with you today is Marlene is out today, so I get to do her report for her. I'm not a substitute for her. She does a great job as she's our coronavirus coordinator. She has a master's in public health, but she's also our form coordinator. And so we depend on her a lot, and she does a great job. All right, she wants me to remind you all about the Mask Up Challenge. And so Marisol is going to put up some flyers about that to remind you. In the meantime, I want to remind you that it is a Milwaukee requirement and a state requirement now, remember. So you really want to cooperate, and it's about keeping folks safe. And so please, we ask you to participate with us. There go a whole chunk of our staff. and then with their beautiful masks. And then we have our youth, including, they snuck my picture in there because I got it in late. So please go ahead and do the mask up and then hashtag it mask up so we can collect those photos. So please be reminded. And then if you want more information about the state mandate for the mask, we have that link we're going to put up here on the comments again so that you can see the regulations around the mandate. And then as you can see, Andrea shared there where you can get free masks as well. So lots of information. And then the last little piece we want to share is we saw on the news, I wasn't able to get it from MPS yet on their website, but WISN shared that MPS is providing 20,000 wireless internet hotspots for students without internet. So for all of those families who may not have internet, this is the time to get ready for the school year. And as you heard here from MPS administrators, that's going to be virtual school. Those hotspots cost about $5 million. And Superintendent Posley gave a little shout out, said that there were numerous generous individuals and the state that had supported this to happen for students. So what do you do if you want to connect with this? You email MPS. It says that parents should email MPS to request a hotspot from their school. So there you have it. Let's get ready for the babies to have as great a school year as possible digitally, and internet access is critical to that. All right. Right now, I'd like to bring on our Civic Engagement Manager to give us an update on all that's happening, election and census. Gabe Charles.
Hey.
Hola, Gabe.
So I just want to remind folks that early voting has started. So you can go to any of the sites that are on this flyer. The Zyler Municipal Building, Manitoba School, and Midtown Center all have express voting. And that's Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., Saturday and Sunday, 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. And then limited sites are just one voter at a time. So there might be a line at Bayview Library, Mitchell Street Library, and Zablocki Library. Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. And just know that there are staff available to sign as your witness if you are going to turn in your absentee ballot, because all of those locations are also absentee ballot drop-off sites. And if you're going to early vote, you can register at these locations as well. Voting assistance is available, and you can request your absentee ballot still at myvote.wisconsin.gov. But do that today because it needs to happen as soon as possible to avoid any delays with postage. And then also just want to remind everybody that we have these census signs that you can use or that you can request. We have about 100 of them to give out to community members so that the census gets attention in our neighborhoods, because we know how important the census is, and we now have less time to be counted in the census, as it's going to end September 30th now instead of October 31st. So we lost a full month of being able to count folks. So please request these signs, fill out the census. We also have them in Spanish, so you can get them in Spanish. So comment on this live right now if you want one, and we will reach out to you to make sure you get it, or you can email us at soc@socmilwaukee.org to request them as well, or message us on Facebook. However you can get in touch with us. And with that, I will leave you with a census video, and I will be with you later this week.
They are the heroes, the helpers, working on the front lines. And here's one small way that you can help them in return. Complete your 2020 census today. 2020 census data helps communities plan funding for hospitals, clinics, and emergency services across the country. An accurate count helps public health officials know who is at risk and first responders identify the resources they need to protect our communities. Complete your census at 2020census.gov and help shape our future.
Thank you, Gabe. Elsa has a great comment. So how can a person without internet service be able to email the request for a hotspot MPS? Totally on, always. Elsa, you add so much value all the time. All right, good point. I don't have an answer. I'm hoping MPS will, but I would say, Drea, let's see if we can find MPS's phone number. And so we can share it here and an email address. Maybe they can do it from their cell phones if they have that ability, if they have, a phone with that access as well. Good point. All right, folks, we don't have a SOC teacher here, but what I do want to announce I was thinking about is, remember I was asking you for your input because we didn't expect the pandemic. Well, we didn't know what to expect, but we certainly didn't have the experience that it was going to go on all these months. And I was asking for your input, and we've gotten your surveys, those who have filled them out. So if you haven't filled out a survey, please do. Only takes a couple of minutes. It's only like 2-3 questions. Because we didn't expect this to last this long. So when we launched the forum, it was a response to the crisis. And now it's been going on for a while. So we had to rethink, like, is this forum enough value to you all? Edith, our grants and compliance coordinator, did some math on how many times the forum has been viewed live and after it's been uploaded on Facebook and YouTube. So live, we don't get tons of people watching it. But when we did the math of what's the all-time views after it's published on Facebook and YouTube, we're past the average of about 500 people connect with the forums. That's the English and Spanish version together, right? So this day, this forum, more than 500 people are going to watch this episode. That's of great value to us, and we've made a commitment to continue to do digital organizing. But it tells us we're going to continue the forum, and now it's a matter of what can we pull off, because it takes so many staff. Right now, just so you know, Marisol is producing, and there's a backup producer. Marlene is the forum coordinator, and I'm her backup, right? I'm doing that as well today for now. Andrea is doing comments. Gabe does her section. Marlene does her section. Other staff jumps in for their sections of the forum. So it's, it's probably 80% of our staff is invested in the forum. And so it has to become more manageable. But we also want it to be like more effective as we learn and grow, right? We're all learning like this virtual, especially me. I'm not that generation. I'm over 50. Yes, Elsa is saying that is the beauty of Facebook Live, that it is available to the public at their convenience. Yes. And so this is what we have in the plans coming sometime this month. We're landing a start date and we're going to transition. Is we're going to continue to do 3 o'clock with SOC for you all. We've showed the value of it. On Monday is going to be dedicated more bringing up about civic engagement. And so helping you all and all of us understand and engage more with the elections, with the census, but also civic engagement. Civic engagement just is not voting. Civic engagement is a year-round process of, the elections are over. How do I pay attention to what folks promised they were going to do, why I elected them, and what's happening? What are they doing in committees? What's happening with the budget? When does the community get to decide, does this issue go left, right, or stay, going forward, or gets pulled out? So civic engagement, we're going to continue to help you all understand all that it takes to do that. That'll be Monday. So Monday will be like our focus on that. We're still doing a variety of things on the forum, but each team is going to take a day. On Tuesday, our youth are going to eventually produce their own forum from the top to the bottom, like we're doing now. I'm the most excited about that. I've had a long career with youth, and I'm always blown away about what they can do when you give them the support and accountability and push them a little bit. And so they'll be producing a forum. Wednesdays will be our all Spanish forum. And then Thursdays will be our key focus on COVID-19 coronavirus. And on Friday will be our focus on our key strategies with it, which is grassroots organizing. Civic engagement got so big, it has its own day. And then leadership development. We have our institute, our grassroots organizing conference, our legacy awards. And then a field that we do a little bit in, but we're going to roll out a whole initiative is community development. Right now it's in public resources. So all those housing resources, the bilingual services, safety, etc. And so there you have it. The little, next level, Forum 2.0 is going to be Monday, focusing on civic, Tuesday, youth, Wednesday, all Spanish, Thursday, COVID, Friday, programs and strategies and programs. Now, when there are critical issues like what's happening right now with law enforcement, yes, we'll do themes and we will continue to do our best to bring you people who are in positions of power and influence and who have a lot of wisdom, our activists, our elected officials, our administrator. So our administrators and our community folks. And so there you have it. If you have any ideas, you can still get them in. We will continue to highlight the census while it's going on, because that's critically important. Happens every 10 years. The election, because this is a big election year, even though every year is an election year, but this one's a presidential. And we will continue to share COVID every day. And we'll pay attention to any critical, like breaking news that you can hear, like that just came out about the internet hotspots. So there you have it. If you have thoughts, please remember to do the survey. I'm going to ask Marisol to share a little inspiration for you all. Y si no, I'm going to remember.
Has this live forum been informative and useful to you? What part of the forum could be improved or changed to make it better? Please take a quick survey that's located in the comments section so that we can keep 3 o'clock with SOC going for residents. Thank you for tuning in.
Okay, it did come on. Thank you, Marisol. That's the beauty of having a live program, and that's the beauty of staying humble. We always have a reason that, right? I said to the staff before, we don't expect perfection because that means we have to deliver it, and that's too heavy a burden for any of us. But please do fill out the survey. It only takes a couple of minutes, and we need it to know what to do with the forum, how to strengthen it, but also to share with our funders to demonstrate to them that we're getting your input. I want to remind you that Jamal Smith from the Office of Violence Prevention will be on tomorrow. Friday, Fred Royal from the NAACP is going to be sharing President Obama's 21st Century Policing plan that was developed when he was with us leading the country. And then another report and plan that was published is the New Era of Public Safety. And so just trying to give you all what's the latest on people thinking that, on law enforcement reform. All right, folks, we have one more guest that's with us, and we're going to bring her on. As I shared with you guys, in terms of community development, we try to share with you what public and some private resources are available for you. And we have a great partnership with Stephanie Samaripa. I've known her personally and professionally. She's going to be on if I can invite her on. Hola, Stefa.
Hello.
Good to see your face. I mean, it's been a long time.
I know. Everything is virtual. Everyone's transitioning, and it's a good thing.
It is, right? Like, I think we'll all add this to our work. If we're ever back in person together, we will be, folks.
And I mean, there's talks of that, everybody's adding a little diversity. So we got shot a diversity curve, and now we're somewhat experts.
Yeah, now we can navigate. Like I said, maybe we're puppy swimming the digital divide, some of us, but we're doing it. Mira, Stefa, talk about your role a little bit with the city, the department you work for, and then share the latest update we want to share with folks. There's so much public information and resources, but let's cut off a little piece for today.
Sure. So my role is I am the outreach coordinator for Department of Neighborhood Services. We have many different departments in our department, our organization. However, my role is to carry out public, engagement, community engagement, those type of areas. And so, like I said, learning how to do it virtual has been like you said, a navigation. But we're doing it, and we have to move on. Our job is to make sure that properties, whether they're commercial or residential, are safe and habitable for our residents, for our homeowners, for our tenants. And so, and for the city at large, we have to make sure that properties are safe and habitable. And so how we do that is we had to step back and we shut down as other departments did to figure out, and we are under great leadership. Erica Roberts is we are her team and she is our team. She is our
that the new commissioner?
So Erica, previously Lewandowski, who is Roberts, our commissioner, and the leadership has been wonderful. She prior was a DNS special enforcement inspector and manager, supervisor. So she really knows, the word team as being a team member. And so a few of the programs that I want to really, touch on that we've had to move in the direction of keeping up with the times and continue to service our community is our landlord training and our Rent for Success program. Both programs are offered virtual online. And so we have video landlord training. The class size has come down some because we cannot train 60 people at a time like we did, in a non-COVID world. And so we're breaking down classes. Mark Medrick is a facilitator and the management coordinator. I now have stepped in and helped to facilitate classes, a previous role I had. So we are getting it done. We have folks registered. People are continuing to buy houses in the city of Milwaukee. We still have realtors contacting us. We still have DCD real estate. People are buying homes. They're closing. And one of the requirements for the city of Milwaukee, one of the requirements for the First American Home Dream is to occupy that landlord training certificate. So we are navigating, we are making that happen. We want to as well give people tangible resources. And so what they learn in that class is how to be a good landlord. Who teaches us that? There's two things that I've learned in the 6 years of being DNS. No one teaches us how to be a landlord, and no one teaches us how to be a tenant. Society does, and previous family advice does that. And some of it is great and some of it is not. Yeah. So we want to be able to give the proper information and the right resources. And so we occupy what we have is a manual, which is federal resources, state, as well as there's some HUD valued resources in there and guidelines, and the City of Milwaukee ordinance. So we've been able to move through and push through and be able to deliver that class. We also have our brand new Rent for Success program that is virtual. And what the Rent for Success program does, basically it gives tenants information on understanding what a rental agreement is. People will not be surprised, I know they're not, how many callers we get who do not have a rental agreement. It is something that is still, happening, and we want to make sure that our tenants know whether it's a month-to-month, which is a rental agreement, or if it's a lease, that's a year lease. What are the do's and don'ts of those rental agreements? How to repair your credit. So our webpage for landlord training for Rent for Success has a wide variety of resources that are just a click away from people so that they get the information that they need once they pass our class and they want to come back. And, we all take that course and then remember a day later, what was that question? It is all on our webpage. Understanding what habitable housing is. That's another thing that, between myths that go from generation to generation, or circumstantial, situations where people think that their home is habitable and it's not. And so we want to teach people what safe, habitable housing is: working water, utilities that are being serviced, living pest-free. Those are habitable homes, and it is our job to make sure that our tenants live in those type of situations that are safe and that are free of issues for them. Understanding what housing scam is. We had about 3 years ago was probably the height of our tenants giving someone a full rent and deposit, and that was not the person who is neither the manager or the landlord or the owner. And so we teach people how to identify what a housing scam is and who you should be giving your rent to, and how to look online to find out who is the actual owner of that property, because it's on the City of Milwaukee, property registry, who the owner is. There's also a phone number, because property owners, landlords have to register with a phone number. So those are keys and tips that we give tenants. They get a manual and they get a certificate, and they can register online for that class. And I believe it's through the library that they could register, and we are offering those. We also have our supportive services. We have our compliance loan program that gives property owners who are in distress and cannot, maybe 30 years ago, 20 years ago, someone bought a property, and fast forward to today, there's some reasons why that property still needs or they have new repairs and restorations. And so our compliance loan addresses that and helps our property owners to be able to get some funding. That program goes up to about $15,000 if needed, and it addresses owner occupants, and they could even be in a duplex as long as they live on the premises. And that addresses roofs, porches, siding, painting. So there is a new compliance loan officer by the name of Keishla Delgado Ortiz. And so we have, a larger Spanish-speaking staff. Yes, at this point, we have a larger Spanish-speaking staff on deck to answer questions. And so, that's a program. We also have our NIP program that also, the scope of work is a little bit more extensive. However, it's based on a inspector's inspection. But as long as they're current with taxes, mortgage, utilities, and they have, we will give them the contractor. Our program sets them up where they won't have to, go through those channels to try to find somebody who is not experienced or, adequate, or doesn't know the ropes on how to work with a city program. And so those who are looking for the NIP program can apply. Southside can apply at the Milwaukee Christian Center. And so they could go online or call. I believe that they are closed to public, as our office is closed to public, but we are a phone call away. We are, a link away. You can also call the 286-2268, 286-2268, and that is our customer service. And you can reach any one of our departments at that number. We also have our development center. At this time where people are home, they want to get their repairs done. So permits are being called and pulled. And so that is at a owner by owner situation. But you can definitely still navigate that program and get, permits for what needs to be repaired in your home.
There's so many public resources just in that one department. We're gonna have you back, Stefa, to like knock each one of them out and help people navigate. So far, people need to know, and we've had a partnership with you all for so long, and so appreciate you. One is for people who own properties, the landlord training, and the most important part of that people don't get anywhere else is, well, you got to know the laws that you have to comply with in order to be a landlord. You get yourself in trouble. And the renter's side too, that's super important. Then I heard you say there's also resources for folks to become compliant with anything that they get cited by the city for in their homes. And then also for those folks who are looking to do more extensive problems with their house, there's the NIP program, Neighborhood Improvement Program. And then to not forget, folks, I have 100 and some plus year old house myself, is that when you do work, you got to pull a permit so that it's done correctly and safely for everyone. And that's what the department does as well. Stefa, how long is the landlord and training program these days?
So these days, the landlord training class is about 5 hours long with a break. Sometimes, it depends on the class size. If you want to move a little faster, but we really cover. I will tell you the 4 points that we cover is preparing your property. We cover application screening. We cover the lease or the rental agreement and maintaining the property after. So as long as we can get those 4 real concrete pointers out.
So 5 hours. Do they have to do it all at once or can they do it in pieces?
They would have to do it all at once.
All at once. Okay. But
and
they can. Is it a scheduled time they have to sign up for? Okay, yep. So it's not like independent study. You have to sign up. How long is the rent for success training?
2 hours.
2 hours, so that's less.
Yes.
And then is there a cost to any of this? Let's let our viewers know.
Absolutely free. It is absolutely free. We receive a grant. And so all we really do require is that they fill out a survey for us so that we can continue to give this service for free.
Well, thank you so much, Stefa. We're going to have you back so we can dig in a little deeper to some of these things.
For sure.
Be safe, and we'll see you soon, si Dios permite.
Bye.
Bye. All right, folks, trying to bring you all the information and resources that we need to really live well here in our community and know what's available for us. All right. Please remember to be back with us tomorrow and to fill out the survey. And we want to thank you for digging in with us every day, especially you faithful ones. We love to see you back. So be safe, and we'll see you tomorrow at 3 o'clock with SOC. We're going to leave you with thank yous for our funders.
SOC viewers, we would like to thank everyone for supporting our 3 o'clock with SOC live show and for completing our SOC surveys. In addition to thanking all our residents, we would like to say thank you to our following sponsors: Wisconsin Voices, Community Development Block Grants, Neo-Philanthropy State Infrastructure Funds, Movement Voters Project, Catholic Campaign for Human Development, Tides Foundation, the Silber Foundation, City of Milwaukee Office of Violent Prevention, City of Milwaukee Promise Zones, and all our faithful individuals who support SOC through donations. Thank you.